It is Tuesday, January 12th, 2020. I'm Pastor Thor Ramsey with Center Church. This is Gospel for Five, where we take 5 minutes out of our day and focus on the gospel because Jesus is the gospel. So we're about halfway through chapter 5 of Galatians. So yesterday we ended with verses 13 through 15, where Paul was really telling us how to fulfill the entire law, which is just to love our neighbors as ourselves. And then in verse 16 he says, "But I say, walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh." Now there is the Christian life. Can we understand that? Can we answer that? Can we practically apply this verse to our lives? Walk by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the flesh. So we find this in conflict in our lives, so to speak. This is how the Christian life feels. Now, rather than unpack this theologically, rather than analyze this theologically, let's just talk practically about how this feels. We are now born again. The Spirit of God resides in us. So in that sense, we are walking by the Spirit. We have the Spirit of God inside of us, so we're walking by the Spirit. And yet we still have our fleshly desires. Now, these are not every fleshly desire is evil within in and of itself. We have to be careful here, because otherwise we start to talk like there is this duality between our spirit and our flesh, the spirit being good, the flesh being evil, which is really a type of Gnostic teaching, Gnosticism. Spirit good, flesh bad. And that is not the Christian life, because the Christian life is about what? The restoration of everything, including our flesh. So we will not just die and then be spirit beings for the rest of our lives, because spirit good, flesh bad. We will be resurrected with our physical bodies. The restoration, Jesus Christ is going to restore everything. So, again, walk by the Spirit. You'll not gratify the desires of the flesh. Our flesh has desires. We desire to eat. Nothing wrong with eating. We desire sexual fulfillment. Nothing wrong with that in the context of marriage between a man and a woman. So we have all types of desires. We desire to be recognized for the job we're doing. We take pride in the job we're doing. Nothing wrong with these types of things. There's even some ambition, so to speak, that is desire, that it's not all bad. Not all desires are wrong. As a matter of fact, most desires are God-given, right? They lead us somewhere. They motivate us to move forward in life. So they're not by nature bad, but what is bad? We are sinful by nature, and so we have twisted our desires, and we end up living for them. That's really what Romans chapter 1 is about. It is about making the desires of the flesh the god of our lives, the gods of our lives. We become these little worshipers of gratifying our flesh. So what we find in the Christian life sometimes is that our spirit, the Holy Spirit inside of us, and something we desire can be in conflict with one another at times. Right? Nothing wrong with sitting down and enjoying, kind of, what's the word, vegging out? Not vegging out, or I don't like to call it vegging out, watching television. I like to call it not debriefing, but I can't remember. I've got a word to justify it. Let me say it that way. But it's just this idea that we're kind of decompressing. That's the word I use. I decompress by just taking some time watching. So nothing wrong with watching a program or something. But, 3 hours later, 4 hours later, binge watching, right? Now, and the Spirit's telling us maybe you could be praying and reading the Word. Maybe you could be, again, see, now we have a conflict between the Spirit and the flesh. So we find these little things, these little battles all throughout our lives as Christians. Now, let's start unpacking that theologically. So what has God said to you today?